AI is destroying photography. The whole photography community is like really mad about AI because, well, it stole all of the work that we made and uses it to replace us. So yeah, I totally get being mad about AI in the photography community. I'm pretty mad about it myself, but here's the thing. I can't stop it. Nothing I do is going to stop it. What I can do is try to be a better photographer, somebody who makes images that can compete better with the real competitive influence of AI. And I found some concrete ways to improve my productivity, just getting my work done faster, and to produce better, more creative images that use AI. So I'm using AI to fight AI. I'm going to show you exactly how I do that so you can copy these techniques and hopefully it'll help you too. First, I want to thank my sponsor, Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/Tony and see what having your own website can do for you. I'll tell you, it's far more engaging, attractive, and meaningful than my social media because social media has my latest work, but it doesn't have my best work. With my website, I can sell stuff like my workshop. I can view detailed analytics so I understand who and when people are coming to my site, as well as like how long they're staying engaged. Don't get rid of your social media. That's important too. But it's very important to get your own website at squarespace.com/Tony, whether it's for your portfolio, a personal project, or any kind of business. I promise it'll reach more people and look way better. Try it out for free, no credit card required. When you love it, the coupon code Tony will save you 10%. First, I use AI to pre-visualize photos. If I'm doing a portrait shoot, I can find a couple of pictures of the person from their Instagram. I drop it into Gemini and I say, imagine this person in a sequined dress singing into a microphone somewhere in the streets of New York. And it will produce images on cobblestone streets and Times Square, or maybe it's along the river at sunrise or sunset. And then I get to actually see pretty closely what that particular person would look like in each different scene. And that helps me figure out what time of day to shoot, what location to go to. I can ask it to be creative. When I'm feeling creatively drained, if I don't have inspiration for a shoot for somebody, I say, Gemini, here's this person. They are into jazz music and books and horses. And it will come back with some kind of relevant portrait. And I could then say, give me something in the style of fashion photography. Give it to me in a glamorous or grungy or lo-fi. Show me with an 85 f1.2 or show me with a 24mm f8. And it will imagine different sets, each being slightly different. That helps me figure out a style that matches a particular client's. It's not just that, but it can also be landscape photography, architectural photography. You can ask it to render well-known buildings. What would the Chrysler building look like with blue skies, or partly cloudy or overcast but with a long exposure? Like you can envision all of these things. The very best photographers always have a distinct vision of what they're going to capture before they press the shutter. They're not just running around with a camera snapping stuff. The camera isn't a toy to the best photographers. It is a tool that they are using to create an image. If that sounds like you, then of course you would want to try to create the image beforehand. Because I don't know how many times where I've visualized something in my head and then pulled together the outfits, the location, the subject, and the picture just isn't quite right. You know why? Because, well, whatever, the shirt I picked out doesn't actually look that great with their skin tone. That's the kind of thing pre-visualization allows me to fend off. Because I can run through a turtleneck or a button down in red or blue or gray or green. I can iterate through all of that while sitting at my desk without wasting the client's time. It also lets me kind of get sign off on the concept very accurately before the client shows up there. So they know more what they're going to get. I will use AI to generate a little like mood board. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 pictures and I say, what do you think of these pictures? And they'll say, oh, this one, don't love it. But this one, yeah, I kind of love that. Let's work with that. And now they're collaborating. Maybe they're even contributing a little bit. It'd be like, oh, what if I was laying on the ground instead of standing up? What if it was morning light instead of overcast? Now you're collaborating with AI, but you're collaborating with the client. Everybody's thinking creatively and they're thinking about the specific image instead of just showing up to shoot. This ability for AI to generate an image helps you see it, but it also allows you to share your vision with other people. Instead of having to describe with words what a final picture would look like or sketch something out, now you can make something that looks a lot like what the final image would be. This is funny, right? Because now we're kind of ripping off AI, which is kind of ripping off us. But I'm okay with that because I'm using generative AI imaging to produce real pictures. Nobody in the outside world will ever see the generative images. They just help me move my craft along. If you're traveling and you want to take great pictures, ask AI for advice. It actually is really good at suggesting different spots. Went to Mexico recently and just said, like, where can I go shooting here? What's a photogenic place? Maybe a place for portraits, maybe a place for landscapes. And it had detailed suggestions for all of that. And I say, okay, let me check out this place. Like, how should I get there? It will then tell me you can rent a car, you can take a bus, there's a taxi here, you really need to show up before 3 p.m. It knows a lot about this place. It has gone through like thousands of different reviews and comments about different spots. And that saves me hours and hours of research, produces better results, and helps me like fend off little problems, like knowing that a particular popular spot has cheaper parking on the far side than the close side. That's the kind of advice that AI can give you. And if you tell AI that you're looking for photo shoots, it'll even contribute other suggestions, like you're going to a waterfall, grab yourself an ND filter. You probably want something wide angle. I mostly use Gemini, and in Gemini you can give it like permanent directions, tell it about yourself, and as part of that I have a list of the gear I have. And so when I ask it for photography advice, it's capable of suggesting like cameras and lenses and other things. It's not to say that it's always right, and it's not always right. But it does often remind me about something that I might have forgotten, or inform me of something that I wouldn't have found with just a Google search. Like, because it knows you, it more proactively tells you about things. For landscape, travel, architectural, city, street photography, AI is really great for getting historical context about a place. And that's really important to producing great images. Like, often here in New York, I will see a building that seems architecturally interesting. What I do, I pull out my phone, I snap a phone picture, and then I open Google and I drop the image in. And it will immediately pull up the building, and AI will generate a long history about that building. So how does that make better pictures? Well, I think you definitely make better pictures when you have a deeper understanding of your subject. For example, a particular building that I found interesting, I might not consciously be aware that it's interesting because it has a unique architectural element, but the AI summary of it would point out those unique architectural elements, and that might lead me to find a time of day when the light highlighted those better, or maybe I zoom in to crop other things out so that that particular element is a little more prominent. All the big AIs also have like just two-way chat mode, like you just talk to it like a person, but it's just like a person who has access to lots of the internet and can look stuff up for you. I will frequently just put my AirPods in, and while I'm walking somewhere or while I'm driving somewhere in the car, I have a conversation with it about what I'm doing and where I'm going. I'm shooting a couple's 50th wedding anniversary. What shots do I absolutely have to get?
For a 50th wedding anniversary, you definitely want to get a classic portrait of the couple together, showing their enduring love. Capturing moments like them dancing, cutting the cake, or laughing with guests are great for candids. Don't miss some big family shots with children and grandchildren. And definitely get photos of any special details, like the decorations or old photos they might have on display.
I'm photographing a Japanese or a Cuban immigrant. How does the protocol differ? And in this way, I just have sort of a half-listening conversation with AI, who happens to be an expert in like whatever subject I'm asking it about. Really, try chatting with AI with your headphones in about whatever you're interested in, and that is a really good way for AI to make you smarter instead of making you dumber. Gemini is also really good at helping with gear questions or questions about your computer, because it can cull through thousands and thousands of reviews, and because it will consider its knowledge of you in the recommendations. Like, it knows if you have a big budget or a little budget. It knows the types of things that you like to shoot. It knows if you prefer small gear or big gear. But there's some big caveats here, because AI is way behind. Like, I recently asked it for recommendations about something, and it recommended an A7 IV. And I said, why'd you recommend an A7 IV instead of an A7 V? and it said, well, the A75 is just rumored. It's not out yet. The problem is that AI is often trained with non-current data. Well, it's always trained with non-current data, but if you're asking it for equipment recommendations, you might be looking for the latest version of something. If that's the case, this one little trick, tell it that it needs to actively Google to find up-to-date information for today. And that's another thing that I have in my permanent instructions for Gemini. Anytime I ask for product reviews, equipment recommendations, go and Google things and make sure that you are pulling information valid for today. Otherwise, you'll get way outdated stuff. During a photo shoot, AI can really be a powerful assistant, especially when things go wrong, especially when you're a beginning photographer and you might be struggling with things like, why is the background out of focus? Just put an earbud in and ask AI verbally so you can keep your hands fussing with the camera.
I'm taking a picture of my friend in front of a waterfall. I'm using a Canon R5 Mark II and a 50mm f1.4 lens. My friend is in focus, but the waterfall is all blurry. Can you give me step-by-step instructions to fix that problem?
Try switching your camera to aperture priority mode, which is AV on the dial, and then set the aperture to something higher, like f11 or f16.
I actually created an AI Tony. It has like my actual voice, and I fed it recent books and stuff. So it has like a lot of data. If you want to, you can go to this link and actually have a conversation with it.
Hey, it's Tony. What's up?
I have a $3,000 budget and I want to get a camera and lens for portraits. What should I buy?
Could you tell me a little more about what kind of portraits you're hoping to take?
I want to do outdoor headshots.
For those, you'll definitely want a setup that can give you that beautiful, creamy background blur, often called bokeh, to really make your subject pop. Many photographers start with a 50mm f1.8 or an 85mm f1.8 lens for portraits.
After the shoot, AI can really be a powerful assistant in a few ways. There's several different options for AI that now culls your images more quickly, just pulling out the ones that are out of focus or that have the eyes closed, something like that. And that means especially big sets like a big portrait shoot or a wedding or something, you can process that much faster. I'm also using several different apps to do AI-based edits on real images to produce real images, to do it faster than the way I used to edit in Lightroom and Photoshop. Luminar Neo uses AI to make images better. DxO has some AI technology that makes pictures better. For portraits, I really like Voto AI. You can keep the entire picture exactly the same, but then just use AI to remove every piece of cat hair from somebody's outfit or to smooth out the wrinkles. And you're not like giving the picture the AI look, you're just making it a little bit more perfect. Like I wrote books on Photoshop. I used to go in with a cloning brush and remove every piece of cat fur, and a single portrait could take me more than an hour to edit. And now it can happen in 10 seconds. If the final product is going to be the same and I'm just using AI to save myself time, I have a hard time understanding what could be wrong with that. I mean, the AI was trained on stolen images, but we're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. If I am righteous and I say, forget it, I don't agree with the way this was developed, I'm going to continue, wasting hours in Photoshop? If AI produces the same image, but I get done with work faster and I get to go shoot more instead of being on the computer, I'm not going to say no to that. I also take pictures I've taken and drop them into Google Gemini. Google Gemini Nano Banana has by far the best imaging capabilities of all the AIs. Like they all have some advantages, but if you're using it for images, like I would recommend you go to Gemini. I pay for Gemini Ultra. That's how much I use it. I drop my favorite pictures into Gemini after a shoot and I ask it to critique them. I even make it role play. Like I want the 28-year-old Taiwanese client to be happy with this from their cultural perspective. How should I be editing this picture differently? What should I have done during the shoot? And it can give me advice on that. If there are pictures that are out of focus or shaky, but you don't know why or what happened, drop the picture in there and ask it for help troubleshooting. This can actually happen. I will even drop pictures in and ask it to grade that image. Grade this in the style of fashion photography or 1970s or Kodak Portra 400. Now, I would not take the image that it output and send that to a client because it'll generally, I think it only produces like 4K images, but it might not even default to that. So they're low res. Also, while Gemini Nano Banana is really good, you get weird artifacts in, like text will become a little bit weird, stuff like that. So that picture that it gives me, I don't treat that as gospel. I don't send that off, but I treat it as a suggestion. I can pre-visualize my edits before I invest a bunch of time going and doing those edits. But also, we have filters today to apply different looks to your images. So maybe you don't need AI for that, unless you always use the same color palette on your photos and you only use a couple of presets. I like this technique better than like poking through presets to find the one that works best for a photo. I can then copy that color grading and apply it against my full high resolution photo. Evoto AI has a system where you can just copy the color grading from an image. So I will again steal back from AI to improve my own photo. So it's producing a real photo with just grading, basically a preset that was custom generated for me by AI. Some general tips for using these AI LLMs. First, you kind of get what you pay for. You probably need to subscribe to get the most out of it, though the free ones are useful if that's all you can do. But for me, it's worth it to pay for it, because I make more money than it costs me. I also need to manually go in and choose the top slowest thinking model because I get better results. Often they'll default to a quick model, which might be okay if you're looking for a recipe, but if you want the best advice possible, it's totally worth it to pick the higher end model. Don't treat AI like a person. I recommend not saying please and thank you. Just tell it what to do. For me, that helps establish a barrier because it's really easy to start thinking of these very conversational things as like a person, but it's not. I think it's important to think of it as a tool. Think of it as a tool when it screws up too, because AI will frequently mess up. It'll tell you something wrong. It won't follow instructions. Scold it. Do not make that same mistake again. Always double check your work. It will actually take direction from that. And for me, I'm not a stern person. I don't like dressing people down, so it feels really uncomfortable to me, which is why I have to remind myself I'm not talking to a person, I'm just talking to a program. And yes, I will be the first person they kill when the great AI uprising happens, I'm sure. In the comments down below, tell me what you think. How do you use AI? Are you in the camp where you just refuse to use it in any way because it steals? Honestly, thank you. I wish you luck. I hope that your refusal to use it significantly slows things down, because that's what I want. Slow it down or stop it, but that's not what's happening. One last way that I use AI is to help build a professional web presence. I will open up my portfolio, and in Chrome, there's a little button there that allows you to pull up Gemini. And I will ask Gemini for critiques on my portfolio. And the feedback I got from Gemini was that I needed to reorganize my pictures. I did that in just a few minutes. I just followed its advice, and it made my portfolio so much better than it used to be. I have a Squarespace website. So literally I just had to go in and choose a different template and then drag and drop things around. It's all very modular and easy to set up. If you don't like writing about yourself, Squarespace has AI that can do that kind of thing for you, as well as providing design services. Squarespace is another one of those ways where using AI to help you produce better images makes a lot of sense, because Squarespace makes your work look much better. You can get your own custom domain that you can just keep forever. Get emails at that if you want to. Have a store, sell stuff, use stuff to make yourself money and to make better images. Try it out completely free at squarespace.com/Tony. When you love it, the coupon code Tony will get you 10% off. Thanks.